Hey everybody, greetings. It is GleeCon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Stay a while and listen to this one. We are now 1200 years before the Dark Portal. This is called Eldre'Thalas and the Binding of Immol'thar. We've traveled a few hundred years. Sounds elven. Let's find out. Far across the sea from the Gurbashi Empire, a secretive society of highborn who had survived the Great Sundering grappled with an uncertain future. They were known as the Eldre'Thalas, meaning those who remain hidden. Nearly 10,000 years before, Queen Azshara had charged them with the storage and safekeeping of her most precious tomes. Led by Prince Tortheldrin, the Eldre'Thalas dutifully obeyed their queen. They journeyed into the misty heart of Kalimdor's southern jungles and established a grand city called Eldre'Thalas. Interesting. Okay, they don't mention that in our trilogy. So either because she knew, it says nearly 10,000 years. Yeah, okay. So this was this was before the Sundering happened. She sent this group out, this secret hit squad. When the Great Sundering later decimated the world, Eldre'Thalas narrowly escaped destruction. Only the efforts of Tortheldrin and his followers spared the city. Together they wove a great spell to shield Eldre'Thalas from the destructive forces of the Sundering. Although they had saved their city, the Eldre'Thalas soon discovered the Well of Eternity had been consumed in the Sundering. Without the fount of power to draw on, Tortheldrin and his followers saw their immortality greatly diminished. The Eldre'Thalas soon fell into a deep lethargy and languished in their isolated sanctuary. So what's deep in the southern Kalimdor? I don't know, Tanaris down there? Ungoro Crater? Tortheldrin eventually formulated a plan to revitalize the Eldre'Thalas. He forged pylons in one of the damaged wings of Eldre'Thalas, constructing a prison to house a new source of power, a demon named Immol'thar. Oh, so they now have a demon under wraps, and there are pylons in Ungoro Crater. To the shock of the other Eldre'Thalas, Tortheldrin had covertly summoned and bound the terrifying creature to siphon the demon's power and give it to his followers. So he's like a warlock. Any objections were quickly settled once the other Eldre'Thalas experienced the demon's energy for themselves. Though dark and volatile, Immol'thar's power was invigorating and addictive, more so than even the Well of Eternity had been. The Eldre'Thalas reveled in their newfound source of power, but they knew that keeping Immol'thar in their midst was dangerous. Thus, they developed a means to use the demon's power to keep him imprisoned. For thousands of years, all seemed well. Yeah, because this is lasting since the Sundering. So like they said, this is almost 10,000 years going on. Yet the cost of keeping Immol'thar restrained required more and more power. Nearly 9,000 years after the Sundering, the demon's prison crossed a dangerous threshold. It began consuming so much energy that the Eldre'Thalas were left with none to siphon for themselves. Almost overnight, Tortheldrin's seemingly ingenious plan unraveled and his access to the demon's magic was gone. Not only had the Eldre'Thalas lost their immortality once again, but they had also grown hopelessly addicted to Immol'thar's potent energies. Desperate to regain his power, Tortheldrin plotted with his closest allies and murdered the Eldre'Thalas in cold blood. So now there's only a few left. Tortheldrin's treacherous plan worked. Having thinned the population, the remaining elves could draw on Immol'thar's power indefinitely. With the Eldre'Thalas' numbers diminished, Tortheldrin and his followers abandoned much of their once glorious city. The greater part of Eldre'Thalas fell into darkness and disrepair. Soon, other creatures from the surrounding jungles moved in to stake their claim to the crumbling elven refuge. And they just slunk off into the night with Immol'thar. This is their city, the highborn city of Eldre'Thalas, later known as Dire Maul. I'm trying to remember where Dire Maul is located. Not Ashenvale. I thought Dire Maul was like a forest type of region. But anyway, so that explains. That's the history of why and how Dire Maul, this big place that the ogres take over and stuff, that has all the different wings. The dungeon, the classic dungeon, freaking everybody hates to do. I hate pugging in that, not because I hate the dungeon. I actually love the dungeon. And even though it has a ton of quests and it's more convoluted than most of the other dungeons to do, and it requires like some actual thinking and skill, or so you don't pull the whole freaking dungeon. I hate it because everybody quits it. You cannot accomplish anything in that dungeon. Like if you don't have a guild group together or someone carrying you, you're gonna have a bad time in that dungeon, because almost nobody knows what to do, even if they carry it through to the end. So it is a shame, because it is a really cool dungeon with a lot of different wings to it. All right, another episode of Lore of Warcraft in the pipes, 5x5. Thanks for listening, guys. I will see you on the next episode of Lore of Warcraft.